Hello, hello, welcome back with lots of energy. I have been feeling a bit slow in the last couple of days. For the last in the last weeks, and as you know, and actually, it might not sound like, as I started off a little bit slow here, but I am feeling better. I'm feeling more like, yay, more like myself again, more like having actual interest in things. So, great. I have no idea what happened. I was trying to, because actually yesterday today as well, I had some coffee, so I haven't quit coffee completely, but I cut it down quite drastically, and I don't know what it was. But funny enough, a friend of mine told me, "Oh, remember you felt the same in Paris?" And I completely forgot. And then another friend reminded me, and I found it funny that people remember these things, and I haven't. I've completely forgot. And then I was actually watching a video of mine, and when I was talking about a similar set of feelings, and I thought, maybe it's got something to do with my inner cyclical rhythms, but I didn't see any kind of evident regularity in that. So I still feel it can be a lot of different things. But the most important thing is that I'm getting back to myself. And always I think it's important to have this will to push, to discover, to understand what was what was the cause of this change, to understand yourself and your body, and to be willing to understand. It's like half the work, and to be willing to make changes, because sometimes I think what we need is to change certain patterns to be able to introduce new patterns. Everybody's got their way to change their patterns. Some people go, cold turkey with things. They drastically jump from one routine to another. They force themselves. Some people prefer gradual change. You just have to find whatever works for you. But today I woke up with many questions on my mind, very confused about certain things that bother me in the world, and that I feel somehow, I felt that for a while, that I want to be a part of discussion about important subjects, and I've always felt somehow not what would be the word here, not competent enough to take part in certain discussions, because let's say I'm not an expert, I don't have certain education, I don't have certain background or experience, and yet intuitively I feel some things are important, and I don't want to be just a silent observer. Although I think this is how we learn a lot. I think that a lot of people focus on what they're trying to say without first listening to the other part, to the other side. How can we respond appropriately to things if we don't listen first? How can we even know that we're responding to the right argument? And it seems like people are much more, most of us are very concentrated, and most of the time, on ourselves and what we want to say, what we want to, how we want to be heard, but not about understanding, really profound understanding of different sides. And I've always considered myself ignorant, although people keep telling me to stop. That I'm not actually that ignorant as I reveal in the conversation, but I think It's a good position to start with, because there is enough characters that think that they know everything. So I suppose it just comes as a natural reaction to balance in nature. But it doesn't. I don't mean that I'm somehow stupid or unworthy place in the conversation. I mean more than that. I and that includes a lot of topics that can be applied to pretty much anything you take. I don't mean that I don't have. What I mean is that I acknowledge, I appreciate the high complexity of our experience and of our differences and our the variety of perspectives. As I keep saying, about how different things feel from morning to morning in my own body, in my own mind, and it can change from the moment in the day. You suddenly feel, these feelings when you feel suddenly, I don't know, you start working out, or sometimes not even, but you suddenly are aware of a part of your body that you weren't aware before, and it's kind of weird. Suddenly, it's strange. It's like, was it always there? Did it just show up? Was I not aware? It's very strange, and things like that we notice that always been there, but we just didn't pay attention to them. I think that can be also applied to a lot of things. How I always talk about the cities and how they reveal themselves to me, and the landscape. And what is important is to observe, and keep still, keep silent. And things slowly show up, even though they were always there. We haven't seen them. They were hidden, but out in the open. So the same, it's with us. We take for granted certain things, and I think especially reality, our personal story, our personal reality, and I think that this higher intensified awareness of things bring us deeper insight of things that are already there. So there isn't really somehow you don't have to look far to discover mysteries, because they're already here. They're just waiting for you to kind of open your eyes. And that's with everything. It's really, I think that this is like a universal law, for the lack of a better word. There's plenty better words, but let's say certain the way things are. And I think even our brains. I think it is. I think it's quite natural, and our brains are tuning out a lot of knowledge, a lot of input, because otherwise, it might seem like an obvious thing, but basically we tend to tune out our input. So thinking like that, how much of information gets lost from our consciousness? How can we be so sure of things? And it seems like a lot of people are specialists in absolutely everything. And this is a certain attitude that I try to avoid, because I have, at some point, I have realized that when I kind of wanted to be a part of discussion, and that was about some occult subjects, and I knew that I didn't know much, and I started following certain threads and trying to understand what the hell is going on, and I understood that I'm not more ignorant than most of people. But the difference is that I am just admitting that, and actually, people don't really do not want to. It's a very rare skill to be able to admit that you do not know something. That seems to be feared by many, because of course that turns into a certain sense of value, certain, you position yourself in in reference to others. So it is a certain way that or your ego decides whether you're basically better or worse than other people, and nobody wants to be worse. So people rather make shit up than admit that they don't know something, because knowing something takes time and effort and investigation. And to be fair, we don't all have time to investigate everything. So it's only normal not to know things. I also think it's very important to understand that we as humans have certain set of tools that is specific for humans, and that we, as I said, with our brain, that tends to tune out things just for us to be able to function in this layer in this world. We have everything that we see is seen from that human filter. There is no way around it. You can't take the human out of human experience, because you wouldn't even imagine what is non-human. Everything is humanized. That's how things are part of us, because we can't observe without eye. You can't take the observer out of the observation. And that tends to already shape and color the nature of observation on many levels. So I think, yes, this is something that interests me a lot, actually, and that I struggled to find the right words for, and the right expression. I feel here is where I, of course, feel ignorant, and I want to gain more knowledge and understanding to be able to communicate what I already feel, but which is other than through art. Perhaps it is difficult to communicate. There's the mysterious man with the ladder in the garden. What is he doing there? He's laddering. Is that a word? Is that a dirty word? I don't know. So, where to begin? Where to begin the making of reality? Just, a usual Saturday question. It's Saturday in here. You're probably not going to watch it on Saturday. It can be very overwhelming. The feelings of illusionary nature of reality. So I find it quite ridiculous. I find it quite funny. To for people to be so absolutely certain about their views. I find it in a way, I'm astonished. It's interesting for me. I mean, what the human beliefs and the wars that are happening in the name of certain radical beliefs amongst humans. For me, it's like something I observe but I feel quite frustrated, and I feel like it's time for me not to just be the observer and actually take part. I feel that it's an easy way to just observe and just always assume that I do not know anything, I have no place in discussion. It's taking a power away from myself, from my expression as what I believe to be also, you know, part of or a form of divine, of something greater, like all of us are. So really, who am I to hold back this expression? This is not, these are not discussions that are for other people. And I think, of course, everybody's gonna deal. Now I'm talking, of course, I have in mind certain specific things, but I do not want to draw attention to those subjects right now, because it's not, it's gonna, you know, derail the whole point. But of course, everybody's gonna deal with these subjects in many, in the way, to their capacity, to their, you know, in their way, in their, with their set of tools and predispositions and everything. And I think that the problem is, the problem always was that certain people don't tend to question themselves, and they are often the ones who cause a lot of destructive tendencies in the world. But they don't question themselves, so they express themselves without any moment of doubt, without any kind of break in their action. So they tend to be much more in the world, whereas a lot of people who a lot of people would rather not take part because in confrontation. Just like me, I was not. I still, you know, don't necessarily consider myself a confrontational person, but I know that a lot of this, you know, it's very easy to say that certain subjects are, you know, just, you know, like, I'm not interested. It's not. Ça me regarde pas. It's not my problem. It doesn't affect me directly. I don't know anything. You know, just leave it. And which means that you let others decide for you certain things. You let things happen in this world because you think that it's not gonna, you know, you don't see the influence it has on your life. Yes, I think a lot. That's the thing. I think a lot, and I always think. And the first thing is thinking, possibly overthinking. But I think it's time for some doing. And it's time to be brave, to be not just not to know, but to be brave to be wrong sometimes. And yes, in these rare moments, but nevertheless be brave enough to express certain thoughts, because I think there is a certain energy inside me that is boiling, that is angry, that is upset about certain things in the world. And I feel like I can do better than just ignore it. And yet I never thought of myself as someone who as a political creature, for example, or as an activist or anyone like that. I don't. This is the exact opposite. These are the things that the first things that I would deny. I'm not interested in politics, and I'm not interested in football. And now I start seeing that, you know, we can talk about magic, we can talk about self-development, believing in yourself, we can talk about ideas, art, and it's all I think that's where it all starts. But what I think is also important, without discrediting these aspects, is being really in this world. And this is something that I always find very important when it comes, you know, in the end of the day. As much as we like talking about magic and other realms, things are happening here. And the question is, how do we let our magic manifest? What do we actually do? I think this is very important. And also, I sometimes when I think that I have nothing to say, when I think that I'm not inspired to write or to do something, I think about something I've read in a book. That one book I've read about writing, where the author advises to think about things that we hate, things that piss us off, basically, and draw from that. And this energy of things that are pissing me off is very important for me. I think this is a certain indication. That's another reason amongst many why I don't I find great importance in anger. I think working with anger is very interesting and should not be shouldn't be repressed. You know, seeing anger as something bad. I really do not like this kind of labeling. And of course there are healthy and unhealthy ways of expressing the anger, but the awareness and the working, for me, is just an energy that is very strong and very powerful, and that you can that we can use, even just to indicate, even just to understand what we are, I think. So I think I touched, actually, I started talking about a couple of things that were important for me, that are circling in my mind, and that for which I look for a better way of expressing that, more precise and more you know, something that actually makes a difference. In this photo atmosphere, I'm gonna leave you with all that heavy shit, and I'll see you soon. Because I really don't know how to wrap up. I feel like I've opened a Pandora box here for myself, and this is not an entertainment here. Enough of this, you know. Game over. No more fucking around. That's serious shit from now on. So okay, so I'll leave you with these thoughts of mine that are bothering me today, and I'll see you soon. Take care.